I didn't read the papers right away. I noticed the weight of them first, the way the stapled corner bent when he pressed them into my chest like a badge he'd earned. He was younger than me, her lawyer. Crisp suit, too much cologne for 9 in the morning. He smiled as if this were a favor he was doing for the world. "She gets everything," he said. Low enough that my coworkers wouldn't hear, loud enough that I would. "Including full custody." And he leaned in. "Your children don't even want your name anymore. There are moments when your body chooses for you." Mine didn't stiffen. My hands didn't shake. Something in me stepped back, as if I'd practiced this exact posture. I smiled. Startled him. Not because it was smug, because it wasn't. It was neutral. Administrative. I took the papers, slid them into my briefcase, and handed him a sealed envelope in return. Plain. No return address. "Deliver this to your client," I said. He hesitated, just long enough to look for a trap. Then he laughed. "You think this changes anything?" I didn't answer. Silence has a way of refusing invitations. On the train home, I finally skimmed the filing. The language was aggressive, theatrical. Full custody. Exclusive use of the house. A narrative where I was a removable inconvenience. I recognized it. I'd lived inside it for years. 12 years of marriage teaches you patterns. Who interrupts? Who reframes your concerns as moods? Who collects your silences and spends them later as proof that you never cared enough? What it also teaches you, if you're paying attention, is when something is being hidden too carefully. I hadn't gone looking for the truth at first. I'd stumbled into it the way you stumble into mold behind a cabinet. By noticing the smell didn't match the story. A school counselor's pause. A doctor's deflection. A 13-year-old who flinched at a name she shouldn't have known to fear. Knowing changed everything. Not because it made me powerful, but because it made me responsible. I didn't confront my wife. I didn't threaten. I documented. I consulted professionals who spoke in measured sentences and asked me if I understood the consequences. I did. I understood that some truths don't belong to the people who caused them. The envelope contained copies. Nothing annotated. Nothing dramatized. Just enough to force the right questions from the right authorities. By evening, my phone began to ring. Her mother first. Crying so hard I couldn't make out words at first, just breath scraping against grief. "How could you know?" she finally said. Not accusing. Terrified. I told her I wasn't the one who needed to answer that. Then my wife's sister. Then a number I didn't recognize, which turned out to be a family attorney who no longer sounded amused. Somewhere in between, an official voicemail arrived. Measured, procedural, unmistakable. A request for a meeting. Tomorrow morning. Bring any additional documentation. I didn't call my wife. There was no satisfaction in this. Only a settling. Like watching a structure fail exactly along the fault lines you'd mapped in your head. Authority didn't burst in with sirens or speeches. It arrived the way it usually does, through emails, case numbers, schedules. Through people who stopped speculating and started asking precise questions. Control didn't swing back to me. It simply stopped being hers alone. That night, I sat at the kitchen table after the house went quiet. The kids were asleep. Their backpacks leaned against the wall, half-zipped, tomorrow still believing in them. I thought about names. How easily they're taken. How rarely they're given back. I hadn't done this to win custody points or reclaim territory. In fact, I knew the road ahead would be longer now, Messier. Courts don't reward restraint. They just sometimes recognize it. What I'd reclaimed was smaller and harder to describe. The right to not be erased. The right to stand in a room while the truth is spoken aloud and not be told I'm imagining things. There would be consequences. For her. For the family. For the kids, in ways I would spend years helping them carry. This wasn't a victory. It was a line drawn where one should have been drawn long ago. I placed the divorce papers back in my briefcase. Untouched. They could wait. Everything that mattered had already begun moving. When I turned off the light, I didn't feel powerful. I felt steady. And for the first time in a long while, that was enough.